Alrighty, we are back. Your favorite podcast show of the week. This is Location Weekly. It's episode number 544, and we're recording live on Tuesday, the 23rd of November. Brianna, how you doing?
I'm good. Today's like my last day in the office, gearing up for Thanksgiving holiday here, and hanging out with family. So not only does that mean packing, but that also means like mental preparation, for many of us who haven't been around lots of family in a while. Yeah, so a little anxious about all of that, but hopefully it'll be a good time and just time to be grateful for being able to travel again and yeah, all that good stuff. But I'm good. Just trying to pack it all in. How about you?
Yeah, same. Like just trying to get out and get back out to things. I was at a concert the other night, and that was interesting. And I was talking to our friend Karsten in Europe, and it seems like things are getting worse right now over there. Austria just went into lockdown. Germany's back up to 30,000 cases a day, so they're probably going into limited lockdowns. And yeah, so I think it's like this sort of mad rush to get out and do some things because it's likely with the winter coming that cases are going to go up again, and that may cause some restrictions. I don't know. So kind of like this. Where are we? Let's like we've been locked up for so long, and we
I
want
know.
to kind of get out and do things and enjoy the holidays and do that. So
Well,
hopefully,
I mean, speaking of being locked up, somebody told me who watched the podcast last week that apparently I really need to put some effort into decorating my office, which has just been a blank wall forever. It's like I've been kidnapped or something. So I assure you, I am.
it will be
Uh,
festive and Christmassy soon.
I don't know about festive and Christmassy, but maybe just some decor or artwork or something. But I assure you that I am doing this podcast on my own will.
There you go. Okay, well, let's jump into it. We've got four stories we want to walk you through this week. As usual, Abriana will kick us off. So over to you.
Yeah, so this is a story that's focused on VR. So a company called Spree Interactive, which is based out of Germany, and it's a location-based entertainment center company. So they partner with some trampoline parks or entertainment centers, amusement parks, all of those different things. And they are going global now. So obviously they are already in some parks in Germany, but they're expanding now to Denmark, Ukraine, Saudi Arabia, and some others. And they're doing so well. They're actually exceeding their pre-pandemic numbers, which is interesting. So some of their games right now are, think of wearing a headset while you're in bumper cars, and it's a virtual, reality bumper car experience, and it has motion sensors and all of these different things. So you have this like really pleasant experience, but obviously can see more and immerse yourself in a different experience other than just typical boardwalk bumper cars maybe that you would be enjoying. There's also another game they have called Arena, which is like more just open play with the headsets, as well as some educational games that they've invested in. So VR gaming is really expected to be huge. I know that some of the predictions are saying 92 billion by 2027. So that's, a very big market to be investing in right now. We've seen, investors such as Andreessen Horowitz put in about 100 million into this, as well as others. And, I think we'll continue to see some opportunities for that, especially as we think about perhaps education right now and how things have been virtual. Imagine if our kids, instead of kindergartners having to log in, could actually like see their classroom around them, or be immersed in that, or see their teacher right in front of them. Perhaps that would have given everybody better experiences through a lot of these times. And so I think this is really interesting. One thing that I was not a fan of in the beginning, and maybe still would be a little concerned about, is like wearing something on my face that lots of other people that I don't know have worn on their face. Kind of grosses me out. But I'm sure there's ways to kind of go around that, whether there's like, the paper that they put down like at the doctor's office or chiropractor or whatever it may be. or just, sanitation, operations in place. But I do think this is, it's interesting to see this grow. It's interesting to see how this is going to advance, and like what are the areas it's going to go into besides and beyond perhaps entertainment. So yeah, not really a huge deal. This company, Spree Interactive, is actually in Series A right now. They've had 2 seed rounds previously, and raising some more money right now to grow, and we'll see, where else they kind of spree up, right? So what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. It's definitely a huge growth market right now. VR, especially this kind of location-based sort of on-site VR, sort of expanding or enhancing the physical, experience that's there. We've seen a lot of this in the last couple of years emerge in the amusement parks, theme park kind of space. We've seen facilities, that are solely built around VR, like the Void and places like that have opened up in Utah and different markets that we've seen. So I think there's a combination of kind of a layering on top of existing, facilities, net new facilities. It's kind of like, the arcade of old that I grew up with, where you go and playing pinball games and video games and machines. Walking into a VR theme park or something like that is kind of the new thing, right, for this generation, powered by this kind of technology. But I think from a branding perspective, there's a lot of good experiences here. We've seen a couple of, like Macy's, for example, playing around with this, a couple years ago, and you go to get your picture with Santa, and put on the glasses, and you're like transported to the North Pole, or things like that. I know some fashion brands have played around with VR a lot, like Ralph Lauren and so on, where you can put on the glasses in the store, and you're like participating live in the runway show in Paris, or whatever's happening. So I think there's a lot that can happen here, and I think this company Spree is doing some pretty interesting things in the theme park space specifically. Obviously, they've been able to kind of prove that out in Europe, and are now looking to kind of expand that. And they've raised a bunch of capital, and so I think it's absolutely a growth market, and I could see this coming to Universal and Disney and other places that we that we're obviously familiar with here in North America. So yeah, I like it. It's good. Okay, moving on to our second story now. We talked, 2 weeks ago maybe, about a robot in a restaurant, and so robots seem to be on the rise here, a la Terminator and whatnot. But anyways, the robots are rising up, and this time it's a robotic bartender or mixologist that communicates a drink's brand messages and uses AI to find out which cocktails customers want. So the robot's name is Cecilia, and she mixes and serves cocktails at hotels and airports and stadiums and cruise ships, and available to those kinds of markets. As a consumer, you just tell Cecilia which cocktail you'd like. You order it by pressing a touch screen. You can pay for it using tap, bank card, or your phone, using NFC. And apparently the robot holds about 70 liters of different spirits, can serve 120 cocktails an hour. So very efficient at mixing and pouring cocktails. It works with voice recognition technology and AI. It's an Israeli firm that's developed this. She can chat with customers. She can, comment on their choice of cocktail. She can make it, as they order it. And the more, that you interact, the chattier she gets. Maybe it's you that's getting chattier as you're having more drinks. I don't know. For some people, that's the case. But one of the real interesting things about this is some companies have been using this at corporate events like Microsoft and KPMG and so on. And she can actually communicate a brand's message. So she can be programmed with a logo or a drinks brand logo, from the, like, let's say it's the Bacardi logo or the whatever, and can light up in the colors associated with that brand, and kind of have advertising slogans and things like that pushed on the touchscreen. So there is a branding opportunity associated with this as well, whether that's corporate or associated with the drink manufacturer or what have you. So I kind of like it. It's price point wise, these go for about 45,000 US dollars. So it's not super cheap. You can rent one for about 2,000 a month. Um, yeah, Cecilia, the robotic mixologist. What are your thoughts?
I really like this story because it's like very timely for me. I am planning a little surprise get together after Thanksgiving for my mom. She's turning 60. And so we were looking at, having something, intimate, not too big, but to make it nice, I was looking at how can we get a bartender or, somebody to kind of serve and do that. And so for me, I was thinking, wow, this is great because renting a bartender for 2,000 a month, I mean, that's like super cheap, right? I'm looking at paying someone hundreds an hour just to come and serve, alcohol that I've bought and purchased. So I think this is really amazing because there's so many bartending services that, come to your home when you have an event or something like that. And this is something that could just do that for you and do it really quickly, which is amazing. I do think that there is, a situation for this, and then there's a situation where you really want that connoisseur to tell you about the wine and the flavors and all of
Right.
those things. That really has a background there. But honestly, whenever you're looking at something like a Chili's or a sports bar or an airport bar, like your job is just to turn out drinks. People really aren't there to socialize or get like what is your nose for the wine and tell me what I'm going to pair this with type of a thing. I think this is a great option. So I think this is really, really cool. And I can see more and more things going this direction. Like you said, we saw, I think it was Chili's do this with Rita. Now we've got Cecilia, which by the way, that song's going to be in my head
I know.
today. Thank you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this is pretty cool.
Yeah. It's and what a great song it is too. So
It
it really is.
really
So all right.
All right, so let's go over to the food delivery convenience area, and of course, Google wants to get in wherever it can and wherever they see markets growing. And now Google Maps is kind of going head to head with Instacart and all these food delivery or grocery delivery services and pickup services. So Google Maps is becoming this grocery aggregator in a different way. And so about a week ago, actually a week ago today, they announced in a blog post that they were going to roll out this new pickup feature across 2,000 grocery stores and in 30 different states. They did an initial test in Portland, I guess back in maybe the spring or summer, where they were testing this out. And now they're doing this. The feature available right now is only in Kroger stores, which, as we know, Kroger is certainly a very technology forward company, and they're always innovating. But basically what they're doing is they're integrating this into the navigation platform, which is a little bit interesting of a play, but it directs the consumers into the store's online ordering platform. And then once the order is placed, it can provide that status tracking feature that we see so many times. And then it can also alert the grocery store when the customer arrives. So they're saying, one of the quotes that I pulled out from this story was that Google was saying people who pick up with Google Maps is typically waiting less than 5 minutes for their groceries. So I mean, I guess that's a pretty great stat there, waiting very minimal time. And being able to show consumers the option to either order from the grocer's direct platform or third parties is where they're going, and also just noting like what is the grocer's preference. So really, they're really trying to influence and change our consumer behavior and dependency on Instacart, as they are really probably the market shareholder in this But there's a study that was also referenced, and it was done by Payments and ACI Worldwide, just talking about some interesting stats around how we have seen our consumer behavior change. How many people are ordering. They're saying 34% of consumers are now buying groceries online. 11%, are buying online and picking up their orders in the store. 20% using the curbside option. And then out of like 53% are placing orders on mobile devices, and 60% of those place mobile orders are using the curbside advantage too. So, there's just so much that's happening in this space, and how our consumer behavior has changed, obviously, through the pandemic, with 57% reporting increased usage of, e-groceries, obviously. And there's just so much that we're like wanting that convenience, wanting that low touch, and now we're used to it. So even though we have the capability to go in, either people are still like a little bit, timid about doing that, or they've just realized like this saves me so much time. So I think this is interesting. Google Maps getting into this area makes sense, I guess. It's kind of an odd way for me to think about how I would order my groceries, like going through the map app. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see like what is the uptake in this as an option. And I think the challenges with like the pickup for grocery, Instacart delivery, anything there, honestly, is more about the selection than the wait time or the actual like service and integration. So it'll be interesting just to see if this is enough to make people change their behavior and go through the map app. Thoughts?
Yeah, so I agree with the last comment there. I don't know on its own whether it's enough. I think a couple thoughts. So I think one, timing of this announcement and this this sort of update to the maps, I think, is really interesting, given the Thanksgiving holidays and Christmas holidays that are coming, and all the sort of busyness of shopping and preparing meals and food and all that you need to make that happen. So and in a convenience savvy world where time is the thing that we're all kind of fighting. I think the timing's really interesting about this type of announcement from Google, right? Because I think it is something that can be helpful, to consumers that are trying to pick up things quickly. I think the other thing is along with this announcement. So when Google made this update to Maps, there were a couple other features that they added at the same time, and one is this ability to see how busy a certain store or neighborhood or area is at any given time. And so I think that's interesting too, because I think it's one thing to know that my order is ready to be picked up. It's another thing to know, like, is now the right time for me to go pick it up, because it's like 3 times as busy traffic and in the area right now than it might be an hour later. Right. And so I think the combination of those two pieces, and trying to understand the optimal time to kind of space out, the orders and the pickups and how long it's going to take me to get there to pick it up and things like that, I think become extremely relevant. So I think they're on the right track. I think there is a lot of value here and a lot of utility that they're bringing to the market. And I think the timing's really, sort of convenient or interesting, given the holidays that are upon us. So. Yeah.
And maybe due to that timing is why they chose to put it within the map app, because people are traveling, so they're not familiar with where they're going to be going to the grocery store to pick up something last minute at their aunt's house, right?
That's right. That's
So,
right.
yes.
Yeah. Great clarification. Yeah. So, okay, on to our final story. So we haven't talked about these guys for a little while. Square. Yes, Square is still around. Still taking payments, making things happen. They've launched something new called the Square Photo Studio app. And this is an app for online retailers, e-commerce sellers, which allows them to take high quality product photos from a mobile device and then sync them to a Square item catalog or online store. So basically they've created a way for you to sort of create visual imagery and photos associated with the products that you sell, and kind of link those to your online Square store if you use Square for your payment transactions. So I think this is kind of interesting. Um, Retail merchants told Square recently that 94% of their first orders included product images compared to 11% sold for the first time without an image. So obviously the power of an image, a picture sells. So that's really important. The Square Photo Studio app. So it provides when you install this, it provides prompts to take photos automatically, isolates the item from the background, so it kind of pulls out the item, kind of drops out, all the background stuff, just focuses in on the actual product or item that you're trying to sell. And then you can pick like these sort of stylized screens. You can change the backgrounds. You can add shadows and colors, and so they've added some capability into like really optimizing, that product and how you position it and display it. Um, yeah, and then you just connect it up to your Square catalog. You can add a new item anytime, and yeah, and you're good to go on the checkout piece. So, not super complicated, but I think quite valuable if you do use Square as a way to go and sell. I know a lot of people I know that are Etsy sellers or things like that, or have little shops, that they sort of pop up in a mall or at a fair or something like that, use Square for their transaction processing. So, having their online store, enabled that way, and having high quality images associated with that, I think makes sense. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, the saying goes, a picture is worth 1,000 words.
Yeah.
And I think that's very true. And I like this because when you think about any purchase that you make, whether it be food or, a good for a gift, you really want to have that like visibility into what it actually looks like, and not just a description of it. And so I think that this is really valuable. What I also was thinking about is that there's a lot of different payment options for small businesses that are starting. And, a lot more, like you said, like home crafters, those curators that are on Etsy have been popping up throughout the pandemic. They're working from home and they're trying to get creative and maybe offset the other income that they had prior to this life. And so I think this is a good differentiator between the payment platforms to have something like this. And it's something that could be a selling point. It could be what determines whether you go with Square or another payment provider. So I think that as as like a carrot to dangle for those trying to attract new business, especially from small businesses, having something like this just baked in and seamlessly integrated into the payment system is very appealing. So I really like that they're thinking about this from a holistic perspective and maybe doing something a little bit unique. It's not necessarily tied exactly to payments, but it could attract those. And I like the way that they're going about that strategy.
Yeah, and I think if you think about Shopify, for example, on the other side, obviously lots of e-commerce retailers, small businesses use Shopify as their processing platform and so on, and for their actual e-commerce sites and that aspect of it. But there's sort of this focus on creating a good quality image for your catalog and giving you the filters and giving you the ability to take out the background stuff and all of that. I think there's something there. The fact that it's they're not charging for this service, it's just something to really drive more connection, drive more users, drive more payments. Like they make their money from the transaction, of course. I think makes a ton of sense. So I kind of like it.
Yeah, the payment process is actually what happens at the end of the transaction, but everything that leads up to it is part of that consumer experience. So it's almost as if they're saying, like, let's go back. Let's see how can we create a better consumer experience for those consumers whose retailers use our platform. And that's I like that. Super smart.
Yeah. There you go. Well, that's our 4 stories for this week, everybody. Thank you for listening and watching. Please reach out as usual if you have story ideas or feedback for us. You've been listening to episode number 544 of Location Weekly. Thank you so much for your time. For all of our American friends, we wish you
Happy
happy
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving. Enjoy your time with family and celebration, and stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you next week after the holidays. All right. Have a great week, everybody. Bye.
Bye.